Well, Ziya Meral is a London-based Turkish analyst and research associate at the Foreign Policy Centre here in London. Get that straight, and he joins me now here in the studio. Ziya, so this is quite a key moment, isn't it, for Turkey, when you have a former head of the army actually being asked by a civilian court to undergo these charges?
It is. No matter what angle we look at this issue, it's clearly a historical moment. Yet, just as any other historical moment in Turkish history, the glass is half full or empty, depending upon where we look at it. At its face value, it signifies the ultimate normalization of democracy and rule of law in Turkey, when an accusation can be brought against a leading military officer, and they do have to also stand before the law. Yet at the same time, it does raise serious questions about Turkish judiciary, the way such cases handled, and there are legitimate political questions around the case itself.
They're going to be key. It's going to be a key test then for the Turkish government as to whether the trial is going to be conducted properly and so on. If Turkey wishes to impress upon its critics, in particular, that it is a modern, secular state.
Indeed, a lot of the problems with the court case that is brought against him, or even the process issues, are not necessarily problems relating to AKP. There are acute problems of the Turkish judiciary, which definitely needs a thorough reform, and EU has been quite critical of that on various occasions. But AKP faces various criticisms, not only at the international level and trying to show that the ultimate goal here is democratization, but also at the domestic level. There are questions from certain parts of the Turkish society that see this court case as AKP only punishing those who came against them. But with the recent the issue of the Uludere bombings, and AKP has stood by the military and did not necessarily apologize for the deaths of Turkish citizens.
And traditionally, as you know, obviously in Turkey, the military have always been very much the custodians of the secular nature of the state, and obviously Erdogan, with his Islamist roots, this isn't in any way his trying to undermine his secular opponents, is it?
It really is not anymore, and I think AKP has spent enough time in office for us to be able to assess their agendas and their attitudes, or their even political theology. The critics would raise question of whether or not this case symbolizes a Russianification, if there's a word like that, of Turkish politics, i.e. are we heading to a strong party and a strong ruler that uses law or courts for its political purposes? But even that would be a dubious and questionable reading of the situation.
Just say that General Basbug denies all charges, isn't he? And he says, how can I be accused by the very government that actually appointed me head of the military in Turkey?
Indeed, the accusation that relates to Basbug is not that he was necessarily trying to overthrow the government or act in a terrorist way, but he gave permission to a misinformation campaign that was being run by his office against the government. So the accusations on him are quite specific and quite manageable, but the overall case, which involves hundreds of people, do include some serious allegations, including organization of armed groups to overthrow the government.
The plot thickens.
Indeed.
Ziya Meral, thank you so much.